So I'd like to welcome our next guest, Kitty Patmore, who is the Chief Financial Officer of Harworth, which is one of our Yorkshire T20 positions here at Mole Valley Asset Management. Now, Kitty's had a number of high-profile positions in the property industry before joining Harworth in, I think, October 2019?
2019, yeah, just going up to 15, 18 months now. So.
Excellent. So I'd like to welcome Kitty today, and I wonder if you could explain to the audience a little more about Harworth and the interesting area you're in.
Thanks very much, Duncan, for having me on. So Harworth invests to transform land and property into sustainable new places where people want to live and work. So what does that mean? So we do that in sort of two ways. Firstly, we will piece land together. So we will assemble components of land, or we might buy a brownfield land site like an old sort of tractor factory site or a power station, or work on sites that we've got already where we inherited those as part of our UK coal heritage as well. And then we'll piece them together, master plan a scheme that we think works, take it through the planning process. So all those sort of hard yards of getting a scheme approved, we'll clean it up, we'll put in place the infrastructure to open the site, to make it a place, and then we'll sell serviced land. We also will buy existing industrial properties, and we will asset manage them as well to create new, buildings where people can come and work as well. And so in Harworth, we operate across the Midlands and the north of England. So we've got teams outside Rotherham and in Manchester and Birmingham. And we focus really with all of those sites. We're working towards an end goal of having sites either really for residential or for industrial and logistics spaces of those two subsectors that we work within, Duncan.
Excellent. So I'm going to move across to, I just want to share a slide with the audience, because perhaps you can go into a little bit more detail about Harworth and explain really the vast size of it, because it's not a particularly well-known company. Because,
no.
But I think you have a huge portfolio. So I'm just going to switch across to the slide. And perhaps you could explain a little bit more about Harworth in a bit more detail.
Yeah, absolutely. So you're quite right, Duncan. We're sort of often just sort of being busy on all of our sites, but it is quite a big portfolio. Sometimes it astounds me. So we've got a portfolio with net assets of about £500 million at the moment, so certainly a little bit of size there. And what's exciting about the portfolio is it's split into two. So you can see there we've got the 236 million investment portfolio. So that's the standing stock portfolio that I mentioned, where we've got a big range of tenants across our sites. We work with them to get them into our sites and then to keep them to support their growth ambitions as well. And that generates important income for us. And then we've got the land portfolio. And that land portfolio just has huge potential in it. So I mentioned residential and then the industrial space, but the land portfolio, we've got the ability to deliver about 30,000 homes across our sites. And then we've got the potential of about 25.4 million square feet of industrial space as well. So the sites are at different phases. So they might be at that assembly stage, they might be at the planning stage, or they might be in the delivery phase. But we're working them through that model as we go along. So a site that's in Yorkshire that really encompasses where we're getting to with our sites would be sort of our Waverley site, which sits sort of in between Sheffield and Rotherham. And Waverley used to be the old Orgreave mine site. So it's got a real brownfield land history. We've secured planning permission on the site for around 3,000 homes. And then we've got the advanced manufacturing park with the ability to deliver about 2.5 million square feet of industrial space as well. And we're working through that site, but already you can see we've got occupiers on the commercial side with like McLaren, Rolls-Royce. We've just built a building this year for the UK Atomic Energy Authority as well to come onto site. So even with COVID, we were delivering throughout, and they started. They took over the building at the beginning of October, so that's great. And then on the home side, we've delivered just over 1,000 homes already. So we sell the service land to the house builders that build the homes, but we create the environment, we specify the designs that we want them to deliver to. We've just, they've just got the first school on site at Waverley as well, and it's really becoming that sort of thriving community that we work to. So within the portfolio, the ability to do much more of that over the coming years. And on this slide as well, we pull out, Duncan, that we've got a really strong technical track record. So we like in Harworth the sort of difficult projects, I suppose, because that's what we're really good at, and that's where we can create the most value. So we're not afraid of taking on a power station like the one at Ironbridge that we bought a couple of years ago, and we demolished the cooling towers last year, which was quite nerve-wracking, to be honest, to sit and watch from afar, but really impressive. The team did an excellent job on that. And we're just working through the planning at the moment on that site. So we've submitted plans for 1,000 homes on the Ironbridge site. We're waiting for that to be determined. So a very strong sort of technical track record in delivering these difficult sites. And then we do all of that with quite a conservative balance sheet as well. So as at the half year, and when we reported at the end of September, we had about 63 million of sort of financial headroom to go at. And a low gearing of about 13% loan to value. So we're typically within that 10 to 15% loan to value sort of range. So we do difficult things where we can create value when others might not be able to create value, but we do it off a very sensible balance sheet.
Kitty, I'd like to move on to the ESG side, because it's an area which, you know, here at Mole Valley is very important to us. We have to make the world better portfolio, but yeah. I believe something like a company like Harworth, it doesn't always get the credit from the ESG side because it isn't a new piece of technology, but in effect, you recycle land and improve it. So perhaps if I move on to the next slide, you can explain a little bit more about the Harworth Way, in particular reference to the ESG.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think you're right, Duncan. I think sometimes Harworth gets a little bit overlooked on ESG, and we're increasing the levels of reporting on ESG. But when you think about a lot of the themes in ESG, we do them already. They're inherent within the business model. So if you think about taking sort of a disused brownfield site and turning it into a community that didn't exist before, we tick so many of those boxes as we go through. And what we wanted to encompass in the Harworth Way was really that ESG for us is just built into how we do business. At Harworth, it's part of how we approach every deal. So the Harworth Way sits across the business. So we have our strategy, we have the sort of the sites that we're working on, but the Harworth Way encompasses all of that. So we don't do anything that doesn't sort of bear in mind the Harworth Way, even to the point that when we write up a paper to go up to board, alignment with the Harworth Way sits right at the top. So how does this fit with our Harworth Way approach? And so the Harworth Way for us is 5 different sort of sectors that we pulled out as being core components and core pillars to the way that we do business. So we've got communities, planet, people, to partners and governance. And then in addition to that, we also report against the UN Sustainable Development Goals as well. So that they sort of broadly sort of map across, and we map those goals to that. And it can cover lots of different things, Duncan. So communities, we create really high quality places for people to live, places for people to work. We, as I mentioned before, we think very closely about the design of our developments. We think about supporting those communities with schools, with local facilities. We want to make communities that are truly sustainable and are going to be around for the long term. We think a lot about job creation as well, and trying to be innovative in that, and to deliver high value employment uses to really sort of add to our areas. And then we think about how people get on site as well. So we think about services accessibility and supporting sort of transport and sort of public transport, or even sort of thinking about alternative forms of travel too. That then links into planet quite neatly. So we're looking at how we can reduce our carbon emissions. We've not formally committed to a net zero target. We're working on how that sort of reflects through the portfolio at the moment, but the portfolio offers great opportunities to reduce carbon. So Another site that we've got, for instance, our site at Kellingley is a great commercial site that we've launched this year, which has got a rail connection. We're looking at how we can use some of those rail connected sites again to sort of try and support that reduction in carbon emissions and to take sort of vehicles off the road too. But then when you think of the essence of what we do, we're really reusing land, recycling land, which feeds very strongly into our planet components. So we look at reducing waste. We really look at reusing materials as far as possible. So as we're taking our sites on their journey, how can we reuse as much as we can out of the materials that come out of the sites as we do the development? So that's a very strong ethos at Harworth. And then we also look at our sort of ecology and biodiversity and water management. So we've got an innovative water management system on our employment sites, where we're looking at our surface water drainage and managing that across. And then if you think about some of our sites, like for instance, some of our old coal sites, we often create a lot of open areas of land, really. So areas that we can enhance the biodiversity, we can create new green spaces. So we've got sort of a site at Thoresby in Nottinghamshire, and we've got a huge, great big open sort of public park space, which will be brilliant with cycle tracks, and so we're really sort of trying to manage that side as well. Plus we support low carbon energy generators too. So we've got electric vehicle charging points on our sites. We've got wind turbines. We built up a solar portfolio, which we sold actually at the back end of sort of 2019. But we're very open to thinking about how we can generate low carbon energy. And when we're doing our buildings, so when we're building the buildings on the advanced manufacturing park, or when we're just building a new building at Logistics North at the moment as well, then we're trying to build in an energy efficient way. So we're looking at how energy efficient those buildings will be when they're built too.
Okay, excellent.
So so much. I could probably go on for hours, Duncan.
No, thank you very much for giving us an insight. So, Kitty, tell me, looking into 2021 and beyond, what should investors be looking for from Harworth? What could, where is the strategy taking us? Sort of looking out, 12, 20, 24, 36 months.
Yeah, so we've got a brand new CEO, Duncan. So Linda Shillor joined us at the beginning of November. Linda's from Rotherham originally, the daughter of a miner. She absolutely understands where Harworth is coming from. And Linda's a real regeneration expert. So what you'll see is much more of the core of what Harworth is. So continuing to regenerate sites, continuing to do that in the Midlands and the north of England. We are starting to, I mentioned the building at Logistics North, so we're doing a little bit of commercial development at the moment as well. I think you'll see us bring new sites into the portfolio. So we've proven our track record by adding new sites over the last 5 years. We'll continue to do that. So continuing to grow and continuing to deliver more on the existing sites too. So we're never complacent at Harworth. So we're always looking at new innovative ways to sort of develop and bring forwards and grow that portfolio.
Excellent. Kitty, well, thank you very much today for giving us a sort of quite a brief insight into Harworth. And we wish Harworth much success, and naturally, as it's been part of our investment. So
yes, absolutely, Duncan. We will do our best.